Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to podcast hashtag 135. I am your host, Alexis Appleby, and I have the superintendent of CCS 135 with me, Mr. Craig Clark.
Hey, Alexis, how you doing?
I am doing great today.
Hey, I have some kind of good news, and for others, it may be kind of bad news. So, you know how the old saying, age before beauty?
Yes.
Well, today, you're only going to get beauty because age is on vacation. Mr. Bland is not with us today. So you're going to have to put up with me.
That's great. But we do have even better news. We actually have someone else going to co-host with us today, Mrs. Kristen Stedlin.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Kristen. How are you doing today?
I am doing fabulous.
Good. So tell us a little bit about what you do for our district.
Well, this past winter, I started training to become the bookkeeper. I'm super excited about it because I'm a nerd and I love numbers. It makes me happy.
And you just fell right into this role,
Yes,
shining brightly in this
We
role.
are glad that she loves numbers because that's all she's going to see for the rest of her career.
Yes, and that's not my forte, so I'm glad that that's yours. Well, we also have today's guest with us today. He serves on the board on our Board of Education as the board president. Please help me welcome Mr. Ron Johnson.
Hello.
Hello. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Appreciate you asking.
Yeah. Well, we are glad to have you on our podcast today. What do you think about all of our equipment?
I am so thoroughly impressed with the layout and the professionalism and then your orchestration of the same.
Well, I'm going to say Mr. Clark actually paved the way for this. You could tell he's done this a time or two.
Yeah, but I'm watching you interject sound effects and everything. I'm like, wow.
So just to start off, how long have you been on the board?
I have been on the Board of Education for over 20 years.
20 years? That's great. And you obviously didn't start off as the board president, though.
I did not start off as board president. I started off, first of all, I was appointed to the board to take someone who was moving out of state their place. And then the citizens of Centralia were kind enough to elect me for a 2-year term to finish out that term. And successfully, I've been able to stay on the board for this amount of time.
That is great. So you weren't even seeking the board.
I was not. They sought me out. You. And again, in conjunction with your with your question that you just asked, I started off as just a regular board member. Then I graduated to be board secretary. However, we had someone who enjoyed doing the actual minutes and writing down stuff. So I got to keep the title of secretary just in name only.
Right.
But then the board, for whatever reasons, elected me to serve as president. And I've been kind of in this capacity for about 10, 12 years or whatever.
There's a reason for that, too.
There's obviously
He has excellent credentials to back up why he's president. And I tell you the thing that I appreciate the most about Mr. Johnson is it doesn't matter who, it doesn't matter what, it doesn't matter where or when. He always puts the kids first in his decision making. And he is so true and honest with everybody that comes in here. It's pretty amazing in this day and age to have somebody of that character with that integrity that's leading our district is a blessing to us.
Definitely, because those aren't always easy decisions, I'm sure, to lead us, like Mr. Clark said.
Okay, first of all, Mr. Clark, thank you so much for your kind words. They're very encouraging and, undeserved, but yet and still, I'm, greatly appreciate it. Thank you. And yes, I enjoy what I do because when I first got appointed to the board, I had twins that were part of the district because of, quite naturally, they were quite young. And so consequently, I've watched them evolve, through, the district and high school and then higher education, et cetera. So, yeah, but again, it's been fun. I mean, it doesn't seem like I've been on the board over 20 years, but yet and still, like I said, I enjoy children. And earlier when I was going to school, education was going to be my vocation. So So I just get to do it, but do it in a different role to a certain extent. Yes, ma'am.
So did you go through you said was, so that means that's not what you were actually doing. So what, outside of the board, what are you involved in our community?
Oh my.
Let's see.
We got an hour.
What is he not involved in?
Okay, let's see. Okay. As far as an occupation is concerned, I actually work for Centralia Morning Sentinel.
Okay.
And so I work in the business office there, and I do a lot of things in the business office, from customer relations all the way out to just being out in the public, being the representative. However, the flip side of what I do, I'm bivocational. I also serve as a minister and pastor of a church here in this community, which I have done for over 40 plus years.
Wow.
Much longer than most of you around this table have been alive. So therefore, if you think about your age, it's like, wow, he's been doing this before I was born. And so consequently, and some of the other boards I sit on include like BCMW, St. Mary's, Good Sam, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm kind of...
A big deal?
No. Big, yes.
Yes.
Deal, no.
A man of many talents.
Right. You wear many hats.
Many hats because I have a big head, but not because of, the E in my middle name is not for egotistical. But
Right.
That's very kind.
And how do you feel the
Yes.
board has helped you, being on the board, in like your personal life? Just kind of, what?
Okay. First of all, despite my last statement about egotistical, I enjoy leadership.
Yes.
And so consequently, feeling as if I'm making a difference in the lives of young people, again, is encouraging. And likewise, even with the teachers who embrace me and, the position I hold, I was being facetious earlier today, and I said, well, one of the teachers was in the office, and I said, well, when I die, nobody will show up at my funeral. And she said, I will be there. I'm like, oh, wow. And so therefore, to answer your question, just being able to be involved in the decision-making and to be able to piggyback off what Mr. Clark said, when parents come in, to try to help them understand the reasoning behind some of the decisions the board has made
Right.
or is striving to make.
Right.
Not that we're perfect in our decision making, but we're, again, going back to what he said, we have the interest of the students at heart.
Right. Whether that be a difficult or easy decision to make. Yeah.
Sometimes we do our best to put out fires, but thanks be to God, we don't have a lot of parents that show up en masse to say that you're making decisions and, they're, the opposite of what you're trying to achieve.
Right. Well, I was thinking, since you have been doing all of this for so long, right?
Yes.
So long, do you have any words of wisdom to pass off to any of our listeners that are tuning in right now?
Again, children are at the heart of what we do.
Okay.
And as long as we can think about how this best affects them, because again, it's a generational decision that we're making. And so therefore, any words of wisdom, again, just sit back, listen, and not just, hear, but again, listen to what's being said. And sometimes not only do you want to listen to the words, but you also want to hear their hearts in that process.
Well, we appreciate you coming on the show and those words of wisdom. And I hope people that are listening in, you do realize that the Board of Education does have the children's best interest at heart. And we want to thank you again, Mr. Ron Johnson, for joining us on our podcast. We want to thank everybody else that's tuning in and listening. And please tune in next week to hear from our next guest.
And thanks for asking me to be a part of this.
Yes, you're very
Appreciate
welcome. You're very welcome. Bye, everybody, and see you next week.